that, getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Greetings, race fans, and buckle up for a brand new season of Sim Racers Group Formula 3 racing on Slow Motion Broadcasting. JR Gregory back with you on the call, along with my partner, Charles Boshell, and our producer, the one and only Joshua Wilkie. And the second ever season of SRG F3 is here, and we're going to get things rolling in Spain. The Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya was built in 1991 and hosted the Formula One Spanish Grand Prix that year, along with Formula One, and is current host to the Grand Prix Motorcycle Tour, European Le Mans, 24 Hours of Barcelona, the GT World Challenge Europe, and TCR Europe. Today's configuration is 2.8 miles, 4.7 clicks, and unfortunately 16 corners, with the inclusion of the horrid chicane coming onto the pitch straight. And just between me and you folks, every time an iRacing session runs with that chicane, a handful of kittens are thrown into a meat grinder. So keep that in mind when you're making your track selections for your iRacing event. But in any event, the track record on this configuration set by Max Verstappen in 2023, 116.330. And Max Verstappen, fans will know this, Max won at this track in his first outing in a Formula One car, becoming the youngest ever winner, the youngest ever podium finisher, and the first Dutchman to win a Formula One race. So huge track here for Charles, for Max's brother, Charles Verstappen. So, Charles, we just wrapped up the thrilling inaugural season of SRG F3. It was a season in which the racing seemed to get better each and every week. And as we fire up this highly anticipated return of Formula 3 to SMB, what are your keys to tonight's race?
Yeah, JR, it's going to be a fantastic season. It's a great track to get started with. I kind of in agreement with you on that final chicane, but it's a fast-flowing track with very few hard braking zones. It is really more of a fast layout for it, which is makes sense for Formula One. So I think the focus tonight should be on corner exit rather than corner entry. You want to get good runs out of these corners and maximize your pace down these straightaways. And then finally, the big curbs will absolutely ruin your race. You can take the red and white ones, no problem, but you hit those big orange sausage curbs and you're going to do significant damage to your car and quite possibly lose control, and you'll be out of it at that point. So really interesting track to start the season off with, but it is kind of a mainstay here in iRacing, and it's once you get the rhythm here, it's a pretty fun little track to drive. But I agree, I'd much rather have the what they would call the endurance layout with the wide open final couple of corners, as opposed to that Formula One chicane that I think even Formula One is sick of at this point.
Yeah, and that chicane put in to tone down the velocity coming off the backside of the circuit and onto the pit straight, but obviously not needed in sports cars or these cars. But I digress. I promise not to mention it again. And I'll tell you one other thing, Charles, about this track. We talk about this at every Formula 3 race. Tire management is a very big thing on these cars. You could easily flog the hell out of these things for a few laps, but you cannot flog the hell out of them for 25 minutes. And I think front tire degradation is going to be huge here at Barcelona, riding along with Tyrone De Silva. And you're seeing why right here. There are carbon copies of these long, continuous radius corners all over this track, where you're slowly riding an understeer, grinding those front tires off. Usually you can take some pressure off the fronts with a little trail braking, slide the rear a little bit, but on these long kind of carousel type corners here at Barcelona, there's no way around it. And front tire wear could be huge in this one. Taking a look at our track temps, our driver's getting a little bit of a break here. The track temp currently only 70, which doesn't seem that likely this time of year in Barcelona, but there we have it. But we'll definitely be keeping an eye on tires, and this may be one of those races where a smart tire manager lays in wait, lets people fight in front of them, and takes advantage down the stretch.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was watching practice, before we came in here, or I should say the new long qualifying session that we have here, and I did see a lot of cars struggling with the balance, where they were, what I guess in NASCAR terms they would call pushy loose, which is, the fronts don't want to grip up until they do, and then the rear comes around. So it is something these guys are going to have to kind of get grips with. And maximize their pace through the corners, or should say, balance their pace through the corners to make sure that they're getting some good grip out of the fronts until they can get through the apex, and then they can start pushing back on those tires again, hoping the rears don't overheat and they don't lose it. So it is something that they'll have to keep an eye on. And yeah, this 70-degree Fahrenheit track temp is perfect conditions for, I think, these cars. And much cooler than what you would normally see, if you're a fan of the Formula races. They come to Barcelona in May, and it's in the track temp's usually in the 50-degree Fahrenheit range. I'm sorry, Celsius range. So 50-degree Celsius range.
Yeah, roasting hot typically here in Barcelona. And another thing we might see, Charles, is these drivers are going to have to pick their battles. I think fighting every entry of every corner, lap after lap after lap, is 100% going to blow the front tires off of these things. And so you're going to have to take it down a notch, take a breath, tuck in behind, and let your tires recover after fighting, or I don't think you're going to have a very good time out here, as these cars have a little push in them already, and when the front tires get overheated, that is magnified tremendously. So let's talk a little bit, Charles, about the new format that we're seeing here in the F3 races. This is, as you see up there in the upper left of your screen, this is a qualifying sessions, this entire 1 hour session. So practice is out the window now for Formula 3s. So what we're doing now is qualifying for a 15-minute heat race, which is going to set the grid for our 25-minute feature race to follow. So you're going to get some great racing action here, courtesy of Sim Racers Group on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight. 2 races for you. And as this qualifying session winding down, the usual suspects up front, Stephen Case looking pretty good. He's got a death grip on the pole currently, about 2/10 ahead of Eggert. Eggert's got a nice fat half-second lead ahead of Joshua Corwin. Then it's Poborgi, De Silva, Green, Conway, Leslie, Navas, and Duvall rounding out the top 10. And a little bit more of a spread here in times, Charles, than we normally see. It looks like my top 7 cars just over 1 second. We usually see that bracket a little tighter. So very challenging course here at Barcelona, and we may see a pretty spread out field here as you see Poborgi getting on the power a little soon. And I was going to mention that as another kind of trick around here, these long corners, you got to be very good at timing the application of power on the exit, and Poborgi getting on the juice a little early there.
Yeah, a little bit early to get back on the throttles is probably a good idea to remind the drivers, put the egg under the throttle pedal, and you want to just give it a squeeze and increase the power, slowly until you get up and get clear to the corner before you can kind of just mash it down the straightaway. So it's as we go these tracks, you'll see some time gaps that we saw last season as well. And we do have some newcomers into the F3 series this season. So not really too much of a surprise that we've got a few bigger gaps than we normally would see. But as we saw last year, those gaps will tighten up, and we get some more familiar tracks that people have run lots of laps on. And we'll have the field back within a second again. And we'll be that mid-pack battle will be raging as usual. But I think we'll still have a really good battle in the mid-pack today as well. May have a couple of guys kind of sneak out and leave, but we'll get through the first heat and see how everything shakes out.
Yeah, and noting that Stephen Case and Eggert and Van Wagner are all on out laps right now. And I'll tell you, Charles, one thing that is pretty interesting about this hour-long qualifying session, this is a fixed setup race. So under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have an opportunity to dump fuel and go out with a quote-unquote qualifying setup. But with an hour to play with, you can go out there, burn fuel, and get yourself down to what would be considered a qualifying fuel load with 3 or 4 laps worth of fuel in it, fresh tires, and put down a heater. So Case and Eggert and Van Wagner, among others, may be trying that. And looking up and down my timing tower, there are a number of cars that have been in 3 times. Van Wagner has been in 4 times during this session. So some of these drivers really maximizing the opportunity that this hour-long qualifying session provides them to get out there on fresh rubber. These tires kind of hit their sweet spot after 3 or 4 laps and then fall off a little bit. So you want to keep the tires fresh, and an hour is plenty of time to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of time to do some strategy and to do some testing out here during the qualifying session and see what works for you and what doesn't. So yeah, I think that once again we'll see as the season rolls on, those strategies may change a bit and people start getting into the grooves, and we'll be 40 minutes in and have everybody sitting in the pits with what they feel like they've got is their best time on the board. So we'll hopefully that will not happen, and we'll be able to have some good quality laps for you before the real racing starts.
Well, and I'll tell you, it looks like Eggert has taken advantage of his new rubber and has put down his personal best. It does not look like he moved much, though. It looked like it was about 0.2 from him up to Case, and he may have taken 100th or 1,000th off for that time, but he did get some improvement. Taking a look at Van Wagner. Van Wagner about half a second off of his fast lap on his new set of tires that he has put on. Same with Case. So I was not here early in the session. It's possible the track was even cooler at the outset and is getting a little warmer now, but not seeing a lot of movement on the timing tower currently. So currently it is Case from Eggert, from Green, Corwin, and Poborgi for your top 5. And again, this is the qualifying order for a 15-minute heat race that will set the order for the 25-minute feature. So lots of great racing here for you on SMB. We'll get that underway in about 5 minutes. And if you've got thoughts about this format, if you're enjoying it, go ahead and throw your comments onto our YouTube chat. And the league administrators would love to hear from you, as would we. Share your thoughts about the format. I'm kind of excited about it personally.
I think it's a good thing. I always kind of like the it's basically is, I think, from what I gathered talking with Jason Cotcher, at least reading through the Discord, that there's going to be points on offer in the heat race as well as in the feature. So anytime you get a chance to get two bites at it to get some points out of a race night, then it's always a good thing. So it gives the people who maybe have troubles not of their own making in the heat race to be able to come back out during the feature and pick up some points. That way they're not closing out a sim empty-handed for the night.
Yeah, and it almost presents an opportunity similar to a restart. If you don't do super well in qualifying, that heat race lets you potentially, in that short sprint, jump a couple of your competitors to get a better grid position for the feature. So, and of course, that could cut both ways. But this is all a grand experiment here, folks, and it is for the enjoyment of the drivers and for our audience here on SMB. So as I said, feel free to throw your comments up in the YouTube chat. So far, it's only Josh and I chatting with each other, so a little quiet so far. But as we said, about 3 minutes and change remaining, we'll have the grid for you and get our first of 2 races underway. And whoop, there's a car facing the wrong direction. And I'm going to go out on a limb, Charles, and say that is not the first F3 car we're going to be seeing facing upstream tonight.
Probably not, especially in that chicane, especially with those 2 cars battling. You saw just took it in a little too hot and just looped the car around. It was hard on the brakes, and yeah, I don't think that'll be the first time we see a car going there, and we'll obviously hopefully be catching a lot of that, and hopefully there's not that much of it. Hopefully we just got some good racing. As I say that, there's another car going around, and now doing a few donuts out there on the Barcelona logo as he's cooked the rears, and probably a good idea to come back in and get a new set of tires. But I think we're pretty close to the end of this session, so it's going to be probably not worth the effort, and just cool them back off, ride them back around, pull it in the pits, and get ready to do some racing.
All right, and if you're just joining us for the first time, a quick word about SRG Sim Racers Group. They are not just a league organizer. Sim Racers Group is a brick and mortar facility on the east side of San Jose, California, right off the 101 near the 680 interchange. Actually had the pleasure of stopping in there last weekend and participating in an in-house enduro with the SRG crew. But they have got a dozen high-quality sim rigs down there. So as you're watching this race, keep in mind that upwards of 10 or maybe more of these drivers are in a room together down at SRG, and great sense of camaraderie in that building, and a lot of friends racing together. And it's really a great program that they have. They have a developmental program that starts all the way down in Formula Ford. That is not broadcast, but you get out of that into F4. That's broadcast Tuesday nights here on SMB, and the pointy end of that field gets to jump into this grid and try out these F3 cars. So that is what Sim Racers Group has going on. It's a great concept and has been very well executed by Jason Cotcher and the rest of the crew over at SRG. But we are just about to get this one underway here. You see from our timing tower, not a lot of cars left out there, as most of the cars are pitted and probably wanting to catch a breather after an hour qualifying. They're about to jump right back in for another 40 minutes of racing. So time to take a breath, crack a beer, take a bio break, and get ready to wave the green flag on our first heat race of Formula 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of looking down the timing tower, Jason Trantham just jumped into the session, so he didn't even manage to get a lap, so he'll be starting from the back of the grid. But Igor Grunsky we're working on lap number 9 for the qualifying session. Jose Navas, I believe, is the high runner, 32 laps. So man got his money's worth tonight. So he basically ran probably these equivalent to both the heat and the feature race tonight. So he's definitely going to be prepared and have his car dialed in and ready to go.
All right. Well, the clock is running on the heat race. So we'll have that grid up for you, and it's you won't be surprised if you're paying attention to those qualifying results. But here comes our grid, hopefully, and this is a new format for us as well. So yeah, we may be fighting a technical gremlin here, but I can tell you that the starting grid is going to be Stephen Case. Let's scroll down a little there. There we go. Okay, so there's your starting grid. It's going to be Case lining up next to Christopher Eggert in row 1. Then Jason Green will line up next to Josh Corwin in 3 and 4. Then it's Danush Paborji next to Tyrone De Silva in 5 and 6. Lloyd Conway versus newcomer and last season's F4 champion Josh Leslie in 7 and 8. Then it's Jose Navas next to Daniel Labivi rounding out your top 10. Then Adam Duvall next to Aaron Van Wagner in row 6. Christopher Wang next to Justin Snyder in 13 and 14. Then Adrian Lopez next to the captain Jason Cotcher in 15 and 16. And bringing up the rear will be Alex Velasco and Jacob Guyton in 17 and 18. So we should have this one underway here momentarily. A little unclear on what the timing of the start is. The clock is already running on the 15-minute heat, so we are going to learn about this new format along with the competitors and with you, our audience. But here we go. Hopefully, if the usual, there we go. I guess it's green. And Case looking good. Case is getting a good start. It's Case from Eggert, from Green to De Silva has snuck past Paborji as we make this dash down the pit straight into turn 1 for the first time. We're going to need some cooperation and some patience right here if the start of this one is going to be clean through 1 and 2. You see a little bit of lockup, see some smoke there, but no incidents that I can see so far. So pretty good start from these guys. And up front, Case from Eggert, from Green, from Corwin, and Tyrone De Silva. Looks like Paborji has lost 2 positions. De Silva, the beneficiary of one of those, and behind him, Lloyd Conway has also got past Paborji.
Yeah, good start by everybody. No real instance. A couple more lockups there. You'll see that there. That is into turn 5. Downhill, always a struggle as we see some cars spinning around. That is the 007 car of Adrian Lopez, and it was also Hagen involved in that. I was going to mention Hagen's name along with Colcrun Dillon and Jacob Guyton. I think you mentioned Adrian Lopez. They never set a qualifying time. Jason Trantham also, but they were on the grid, so we do have a 22-car grid for tonight's race, and we still see some argy-bargy coming out of that corner.
Yeah, there is some argy-bargy, and right when I was complimenting the field for getting a clean start, here is a replay of some problems going downhill there and ice-cold tires. And I got to tell you, folks, if you're accustomed to watching our F4 racing, That kind of contact is not a big deal, but damage is on here, and those little hits can really slow down these F3 cars significantly. And quick shout out to Alex Velasco. I said that these heat races are a good opportunity to move yourself up if you didn't qualify maybe where you wanted to. Velasco sitting in P10 right now, which is a +7 for him after qualifying in P17.
Yeah, great start as we see a couple cars. That's the Lego car, the 422 car of Jason Cotcher and Justin Snyder in the Lego liveried machine, making the pass there by Cotcher. So still some battling here in the mid-pack, which is what we normally see with these. And we see Velasco off, so all that good work he did is now done. Oh, and there's more damage right there. That's Grunsky, I believe, and Jason Trantham as well. That was Grunsky doing the cartwheels through the gravel. The Angry Birds car is furious at this point.
Wow, and that has got to be one of my strongest commentator curses of all time, seconds after giving the shout out to Velasco. You see this happen, and look at Grunsky doing the cartwheel. Whenever I see a Formula car doing that, I think of Ron Mons. If he was in the production facility, we'd be seeing about 18 replays of that one. He loves the cartwheel. But here we go. Josh is going to show it to you at least one time. So Ron, if you're watching later, that one is for you. And another incident looks like Poborgi dropping like a stone all of a sudden. So after a pretty clean start, things getting a little messy. Poborgi has lost 14 positions somehow after qualifying in the top 5. So things not going well for Poborgi. And as I said, these little heat races can giveth, they can taketh away. And from Poborgi, they have takeneth away, as you see him just looping it there, just a little bit too much throttle, a little bit too much curb. And because Poborgi's a gentleman and he has to wait for those cars to stream by, and as a result, he's sitting in P19. And again, this race will set the qualifying order for the next race. Yeah, just a little bit too much of that high yellow curb there, and there's a lot of those around this circuit, so we'll keep an eye out for those. You got to brush up pretty close to him to get a fast lap, but if you get too much of them, that is the result, Charles.
I hate to say I told you so, but I kind of told you so. So yeah, those orange sausage curbs are deadly for these cars. You saw him; he just got the right rear tire over it, and then just kind of lodged the car on top of the curb. As we see Christopher Wang there, we see the front end kind of washing out on these cars. And you mentioned that, JR, at the beginning as well. Is you got to keep that front end, keep that nose turning through the corner as opposed to plowing through. And you may be up seeing cars, maybe not for the 15-minute feature of heat race, but for sure. Oh, with more contact there. That's Cotcher. And is that Christopher Wang that was the other car involved? I believe it was. Yes, indeed. And, for the 15-minute race, maybe not much as far as tire management, but definitely for that 25-minute race we saw it last season, or 25-minute races, which is a little bit too long to take these tires and push them to the max for the entire race.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me wonder, some people, for example, thinking of the carousel at Road America, some people like to try to diamond off those long sweepers to reduce the pressure on the front tires. We'll keep an eye on these drivers and see if they attempt any of that. As we see Jason Cotcher after that frontal impact there, he's going to roll it into the pits, maybe parking it here. Oh yeah, he had a meatball. If you look at our timing tower, new feature on our SDK scoring will show black flags, yellows, and meatballs. So you see Chris Wang has one as well. He's likely on the flatbed waiting to get hauled around. And a couple of big movers here. As I said, Poborgi plummets 12 positions. Guyton is up 5, Van Wagner up 4. So a little bit of a jumble here from our qualifying time. And, that's part of the intention here, is to shake up the grid a little bit and create more opportunities for people to maybe get on the grid in the future a little bit over their head and get some more racing throughout the field. And so far, so good. But as the timer ticks down here, looks like we're about a little over a third of the way in. It is Case up front from Eggert, from Green, Corwin from De Silva, and those intervals spreading out. And I was a little concerned that we were going to be seeing that after seeing the broad variety of qualifying times out here. But yeah, our top 8 cars all separated by more than a second. And really the only action right now is Van Wagner leading a little train consisting of himself, Duvall, and Conway. That is for P8. And it looks like Navas has got Snyder sniffing around behind him, about a 0.9 gap for P11.
Yeah, so yeah, I do see a lot of gaps in there, and it's part of the incidents that we've had have kind of created some natural gaps in the field. But obviously, Stephen Case is doing what Stephen Case does, and he's just kind of stretched the gap out over Eggert. It's up to almost a second and a half now, and he's just continuing to grow. He just was kind of the class of the field last year or last season. After we're going to get on board here with Duvall moving down to the inside, and this is going to be down into turn 1, and nicely done, and carries it a bit too wide and back onto there, and that would be a penalty if he was in F1 for not obeying the re-entry. But for here, no problem. Managed to keep it off the curb. Not the greatest rejoin in the world, as there was traffic working their way through, but no harm, no foul. And we'll continue on with the race.
Yeah, and that's not the first driver we're going to see overcooking that entry to turn 1. It is hugely tempting, and you get a good run out of the final corner under that pit straight, get a little bit of a draft. You'll be deep into 6th gear by the time the braking zone comes up for that turn 1, and a little bit downhill, as you see right there, the braking zone. So it's super easy to overcook that, and it's not just about turn 1. You've got to throw away the exit of turn 1 to a certain extent to set up turn 2. And you saw that washout on that pass attempt right there. And here's Conway back in that area, showing how it is done. And one of the interesting things about Barcelona is all these combinations, Charles, and these corners don't look like anything too complicated standing alone, but when you string them together, you have to break out the slide rule to figure out the best line to optimize your speed through some of the combinations, and that's one of the things that makes this track challenging and fun to drive.
Yep. Ooh, as we see the 6 car there of Van Wagner getting on the curbs and maybe just a little too hard on the brakes and kind of losing the rear a bit, but catching it, but keeping able to stay in front of the 13 car of Duvall. And they're going to continue on. I always had an issue with turn 4. That's always kind of been my trouble spot here on the track. But for these cars, turn 5 is, as you mentioned, same as turn 1. That downhill braking zone always kind of lends into lockups, especially if you're driving in hard, trying to make a move on another car. Real easy to lock the tires up there as they're working their way on the back half. We see, that's the 347 car Schneider around coming out of that corner, which is, I believe, turn 7 or 8. It depends on the configuration, but definitely losing it. Is he going to get the curb as well? Yeah, just riding the curb, and once the bottom of the car starts sliding across the top of the curb, the wheels don't touch the ground nearly as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to see these Formula cars out here, and as a GT3 driver, those yellow curbs are kind of my friend. They kind of help you gather up those slides and help you get pointed the right direction when you bang up to them or over them. But Charles, yeah, too right. If the bodywork of these things rides up on them and your traction is over, and we're going to see some spins because of it. And you rightly pointed that out in your keys to the race at the beginning of the broadcast. But about 4 minutes remaining now, and Case driving away, doing as Case do. He's driving away, got about a 2-second interval back to Eggert, about a 1.5 seconds from Eggert back to green. And our timing tower there kind of painted with white numbers all the way down to P9. And right now, Van Wagner still leading that train. Van Wagner, Duvall, and Navas for P9. There's another train formed behind Justin Schneider for P14. But otherwise, not a lot of action out there currently.
Yeah, it was a very nice drift up through that corner there. from Van Wagner just sliding the car through the corner, but still managed to stay in front of this little group. So Duval is playing it calm, not really putting a lot of pressure other than just his normal pace, trying to keep the pressure up on Van Wagner so he can make maybe a critical mistake. As you see, like that right there, that was Novice jumping the curb coming out of that chicane. And so now Duval's going to have a really good run and see if he can make this work. Ooh, you see a little block there from Van Wagner. See if he's going to make this work coming down into turn one. He's got to get the car stopped and get it cornered through, and then he can continue on his way. But I think he's going to get this managed. Yeah, very nicely done there by Duval. Waited, got the good draft down the front straight, able to make the move, and now Van Wagner looking to see if he can come back on it.
Yeah, and the little wiggle there. And pro tip, kids, that blend line coming out of the pits, do not put on the brakes when your tires are on that blend line. You saw Van Wagner fighting for grip there, and Van Wagner fighting more, and that is Duval trying him on the inside, and it's one sweeper after another here, and we are going to see a little bit of leapfrog both in this race and in the feature, and you saw it go there. You let somebody by on the inside, that sets you up for the next one, and flirting with that exit curb right there. That's another place where you're super close to that anti-cut curb on every lap, and Charles, before this one's over, that curb is going to catch a few cars out as well.
Yeah, I think so. And the best advice I can give is you either go to the left or to the right, but not over the top of it. If it looks like you're not going to make that corner, just stay to the right of that curb. Take your slow down penalty and just don't deal with it. It's because it will absolutely destroy your race. That is a very, very dangerous curve, but it's necessary to kind of flirt with it in order to maximize your speed through that section.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was almost a comical sequence there. The cars were almost hidden behind that yellow sausage curb because it's so tall. But coming down to the end here, and not a lot of drama currently, as it's Case from Eggert from green, your podium, then Corwin De Silva, Leslie Lebivy, Conway, Van Wagner, and Duval, although they are bunching up a little bit, and Novice has rejoined that party. So Van Wagner still getting some pressure here from a couple of cars behind, but time ticking down. I don't think the white flag is out this time, but we should be seeing it next time around, as we're on the penultimate lap right now of our heat race. And hang in there, folks, and stay tuned for our 25-minute feature, which will follow this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I was going to ask if it looked like it was going to be really close to white flag this lap, but I'm not sure because we weren't focused on the leader as he came through. So we'll know here in a few seconds whether or not this is the checker or the white when he comes around, coming through the chicane and out of the final corner.
Yeah, and here he is navigating my favorite section of the track, riding along with Stephen Case, is currently sitting on about a 2.5 second interval. And here comes the start finish, trying to see Barney. I didn't even see the starter stand that time through. That was interesting. They forgot to draw him apparently, but looks like the race is still going on, and this has got to be the white flag. The timer is past 15 minutes right now, so we are on the last lap currently. And look at Corwin now, 0.3 behind De Silva. Corwin has caught De Silva, and one of the few positions being threatened in the top 10 currently. Also, Conway has caught up to the back of Lebivy, and still that action taking place right there. And here's Borgi trying to claw his way back out of the basement as he sneaks past, maybe sneaks past Velasco there. And my goodness, that could have turned to tragedy pretty easily, as not a lot of space being given there.
No, absolutely not. That was very tight to be on the straightaway as these cars are still fighting for every position they can. But Borgi's trying to make a comeback and trying to pick up a few spots. He's down 10 after that early spin that he had. So he's trying to pick up a position or two before the end of this race. But it looks like Snyder's fighting him every step of the way, as well as Velasco trying to keep his nose in there as well to potentially get a couple spots when these other guys collide with each other. So these guys are still racing hard on the last lap and with another race still to come.
Yeah, and they're definitely going to be worked out here tonight. This new format is going to put some pressure on these drivers who are going to have to perform for a better part of an hour or more here, so a little bit longer than they're accustomed to. And taking a look at Poborgi now, Poborgi leading Snyder and Velasco, they are all over him. But as Charles said, he was able to kind of claw his way back out of DFL in it there after that early spin, as we're watching him make his way toward the final corner onto the pit straight. And as you see there from our timing tower, Case, Eggert, Green, De Silva, Corwin have all taken the checker. And this is, again, going to set our starting order for the feature race. And maybe a photo finish there. Saw a little weave at the line there by somebody. That may have been, that may have been Snyder and Velasco. And and Josh is going to show us a little pass here. And that is Poborgi, I think, in the 23 car, getting by Guyton in the Lego car. And Guyton lucky that he didn't give up a spot to Velasco as well after that little bobble. And those yellow curbs, man, they are just for show. You don't want to use them for anything else but to wave to them as you go by. And these drivers are going to have to get their heads around that in a hurry.
Yeah, for sure. It was obviously I think we didn't get quite the race that we wanted just because of the incidents we had early on. But it's given the drivers a chance to get some laps in hostile conditions. So we'll see what happens with this second race as we got our results up on the board.
Yeah, and there is your heat results, and the timer is running right now, so I'll just let you look over those. And, of course, Case, Eggert, Green, De Silva, Corwin, the folks at the pointy end, really not a lot of drama and a lot of position changing up there. But these drivers not getting a break at all here. They're getting on the grid right now, so this is all really going to add up to about a 40-minute straight race for them. They get fresh cars, fresh tires, and essentially a restart here. But this one is going to get underway probably in about 1 minute. That is Case there to the in the red 243. He's going to have the outside entry into turn one. And my goodness, that flag is flying already. And Eggert threatening here. Eggert getting pretty good off the line. Eggert is going to have a crack at Stephen Case here into turn one. And Jason Green sniffing around the other side of Case. So Case uncharacteristically under pressure here, but a little bit braver on the brakes and somehow gets through turn 1 and 2, still maintaining P1. De Silva has moved up one. Josh Leslie up one. Lloyd Conway has gotten by. Labivi Molina has picked up a couple. Poborgi has picked up a couple as well. And Poborgi is going to want to make up for his incident in the heat race. And it looks like that project is well underway.
Yeah, and Eggert's not done yet. He's side by side as we get a crash in the back. Looks like Van Wagner, Lopez are dropping off the pace a bit. We'll see if we can get a replay of that. Eggert still challenging Case up the front. He's close enough that he can put some pressure on Case and see if he can force a mistake out of him, which will be very uncharacteristic for Stephen. But he hasn't had a lot of pressure, in and about most of the races he's been involved in. So we'll see how he does with it. But Eggert looking to show some strength here in the early going of this second race.
Yeah, and that is Green. That is Green getting past, or Corwin rather, getting past Green. Big move by Corwin. Green, a very, very fast driver, may have been caught unawares there by Corwin. And I'll tell you, Charles, many of these drivers may be seeing this as their one opportunity to make something happen here early. This field's probably going to spread out as it did before. And taking a look at Molina, obviously missing some body work here. Here is a replay to show you what happened to Molina. Ooh. And oh my goodness, that is quite a chop there, the 77. Yeah. I'm going to say that is Lloyd Conway turned down on Molina that time, and Molina is going to hit pit road. Obviously, damage is on, and I believe there is a faster pair, but my goodness, that is definitely going to leave a mark, as they say. And this one a little rough, getting off the line, but it is right now Case from Eggert, from De Silva, from Corwin, and the cars pretty well bunched together. And as you said, Charles, Case under some pressure. Another incident there. That is, my goodness, Guyton. And that must have been Trantham and the red car sliding off Velasco might have been involved in that, and Hagen. So things getting a little messy here early. And tell you what, kids, we got about 20 minutes to go here. So might be time to dial it back a notch, take a breath, and kind of reevaluate your risk taking because we got a long way to go.
Yeah, we do have a long way to go, but still a lot of yellow and orange on the timing tower there. So a lot of little stuff going on in the back of the field with some of the cars, but up at the front, they're still kind of hanging on to each other there. Half-second gap between Case and Eggert for the lead. De Silva within that 1 second, or just at the edge of that, trying to hang on to P3, and he's got pressure from behind with Corwin, and Green is not far behind as well. So still got a pretty nice little battle up at the front. We'll see how the draft does as far as keeping these cars together on these longer straightaways, and see if that helps keep these battles a little bit tighter for a little bit longer during this race.
Yeah, it is certainly helping Eggert there, as you see De Silva and Corwin kind of measuring each other up there into turn one, and no position change there, but definitely some showing of noses right there. And there is Cotcher giving Chris Wang a try there, and these drivers racy early. And I'll tell you, Charles, they know that this field spread out a little bit in the last race, and if somebody's within striking distance, they know that they need to strike while the iron is hot before the car ahead gets away. And they've got to take advantage of this draft down this long front straightaway, stay with the driver ahead of them, and that draft will draw the cars kind of back together as long as you can keep that gap within a second, probably a little bit less than a second. And somebody must be blinking or have a connection issue up top.
Connection issues. So yeah, I believe it's De Silva. Saw him blink in and out a couple of times, but you can see the pressure and the battling that's going on between him and Corwin is giving the cars in front a little bit of breathing room. So the gap is now 2 seconds between second and third. And Eggert doing a good job of just hanging behind Case and keeping it close. And the longer he can keep it close, the more opportunity he'll have to make a move here later in the race. But he's going to have to find a couple of tenths to really keep the pressure on Case up front.
Yeah, Eggert doing an excellent job hanging on, and watch that interval on our timing tower. It was around 0.6, and you can see it dropping as they come down that pit straight. And here is De Silva. That is the view back from Eggert. De Silva is going to try Eggert maybe on the outside here. Very brave move there and gets it done. Holy cow, that took some stones to try that, and fantastic work there as these cars battling for P3. And it was looking like De Silva was the cork in the bottle there, and Corwin has gotten through. Green wants to follow, and Green gets it done as well. So De Silva drops from P3 all the way down to P5, and we'll give Corwin and Green an opportunity to catch up with Eggert and Case up front, although that interval has risen to 3 seconds, so there's plenty of time left, but they definitely have some work to do to catch up to the front runners.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see, De Silva is getting more pressure now from behind. That is Josh Leslie making a move around to pick up P5. De Silva dropping down, just like maybe not quite struggling. No, and then we get a little contact with the 23. That's Poborgi working his way up through the field, and he kind of got crossed up there as the two cars went side by side through the corner, which slowed both of them down. And Poborgi not quite on the brakes hard enough, and made a little bit of contact, but it looks like the car's no damage, continuing on. But you can see that battling between De Silva and then Corwin and Green really has opened up a gap now. 3.5 seconds up to Eggert. Eggert still hanging on there. Only a tenth off the Case. They've swapped that tenth back and forth the last couple of laps. So he's keeping it close, but it's still a gap 0.6 of a second between first and second.
And Poborgi not shy at all there, just had a sliver of daylight, and he stuffs that F3 car through there. And Poborgi on a mission here to make up for his mistake in the heat race, and doing well at that. He's up to 8, having gained 6 positions. So Poborgi has lit the wick here, and now he's looking ahead at De Silva, Conway, and Josh Leslie, all well within his striking distance. So we'll keep an eye on Poborgi and see how far he can push forward. But quite a raging battle here for P5 going on in the midfield as these cars are switching positions, showing their noses, and showing some aggressive moves here about 7 minutes in.
Yep, and luckily only just a little minor contact between the cars. No real damage to anybody. Nobody getting spun or spinning out and blocking the road. So doing a good job, and I'm just kind of watching the gaps as we still get this battle almost 3 wide through the corner. That was a little crazy there as you see the 77 car, Lloyd Conway, off the track, rejoining right there in front of Poborgi and De Silva, and he does got the yellow flag, so that's going to be a slowdown. He'll have to work that off or risk getting a black flag as we see him rejoining the track there just a bit. And that's going to be where he got to slow down. But we'll watch as these cars are coming down into this corner, turn 8, and you just see there's 2 lines through there, but you have to be pretty precise, and that was not quite there for those guys. But once again, a little bit of contact is okay. These cars can handle a little bit, but it doesn't take much to put these cars back into the pits for repairs.
Wow, and there is some racing going on here, folks, and we told you these F3 cars and drivers were getting better and better. This league is getting better and better with every race that we see, and what an opener for the second ever season of Formula 3 racing from Sim Racers Group here on SMB, and what a great job by Poborgi. Poborgi easily now the hard charger, up 8 positions, sitting in P6. And at this point, he's got quite a gap, 2.5 seconds ahead to Leslie. But Poborgi looks like his fast lap about 4/10 quicker than Leslie. So it is conceivable that Poborgi could reel in Leslie as well. And Corwin is just a little bit further up the road. So we'll keep our eyes on Poborgi, who is on a mission and getting work done here at Barcelona.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was also kind of watching Jason Green and Josh Corwin have swapped positions. Green's up to 3rd. Corwin had about a 1 second gap over Green, and that has flipped. So I did not see a yellow come up beside Corwin's name. So he made a mistake somewhere on the track that cost him a couple of seconds to Jason. So now Green up to 3rd. The gap 5.5 seconds. So we're going to see if we can get this replay here as we got Green working. Yeah, just nice move down on the inside, coming down the front straight, gets a good run out of the corner and is able to take that run and make it into a pass before we get down into turn 1. Let's see if we have maybe a little error by Josh that he just kind of lifts a little bit. Corwin, and just like a nice. Oh, we're going to get another replay here. Oh, this is in the chicane prior to the pass. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, over the curb. That curb we talked about there, JR. That final corner. You can. It's a great backstop to help you, but obviously carried too much speed and just basically jumped it.
Yeah, and that could have been a lot worse from Corwin. Here it is from his seat, and oh my goodness, you could see his lunchbox flying out of the cockpit there, and that could have been way worse for Corwin, who hangs on to P4. That is actually up 1 from his qualifying position, and I'll tell you, Josh Leslie putting on a pretty good drive here. As I said, he just graduated, so to speak, from F4, and Leslie, a very good driver, but he is surrounded by some excellent drivers. Jason Green's 4.4 I rating in these open wheelers, so he's the highest rated driver on the track anyway, and he didn't get there without some pace and some racecraft, so that explains Green picking his way through the crowd. And we're going to take that is oh my goodness, was Wang. Wang trying to get by, I want to say maybe Van Wagner, and Wang getting camera shy there, takes a spin and falls to P16. But for Wang, that is still a +5 for him. And here is a replay of that. And oh my goodness, just the What do you kids call that when you ride your skateboard along the along a handrail there?
Rail grinds,
Grinding?
yeah, rail
A
grind.
grind. There we go. So we see the grind there by Chris Wang on those brutal yellow sausage curbs. Fine for GT3 cars, but not so fine for these things, as you see.
Yeah, absolutely not. As we're on board here with Justin Snyder running in 13th. He's up a couple positions from the start of the race, so a little less chaotic than he had in the first in the heat race earlier. Having a pretty decent run, and he's trying to make up that gap on Van Wagner, just ahead 0.8 of a second or so. So it looks like he's starting to claw into that and see if he can get back up there and challenge Van Wagner for that position. As we still have some good battles on the track, Chris Eggert has dropped it back down. It was up to a 1.5 seconds. He's managed to get it back down under a second, or right at the 1 second mark. So it looks like he is at least attempting to hang in there. He's just at the edge of draft range. I think 1.1, you're getting a minimal draft from the car in front. So probably not really helping him much on his lap times. Ooh, as we see Grunsky go across the curb there. Coming into the corner before the chicane, and we'll have to work that slowdown as you can see him in the corner of the screen, jumping that curb, just locking the brakes up. Yeah, just too hot coming in there, locked it up, and now he's going to work there. That's a very smart move. Don't try and just ride the curb there. Just stay the outside, get on the straightaway, kind of pull over to the right, work your slowdown. And gets that done. As we see now, the black flag has turned back to a yellow. So I think it's trying to decide if he's got a slowdown or if he's going to get a penalty for not serving the slowdown in time, and it's going to end up being a drive-through. So may see Grunsky coming down the pit lane here very shortly.
Yeah, Grunsky showing the black there. So adding insult to injury, as you saw Grunsky hit that yellow anti-cut curve, go into a low orbit in that F3 car, and as Cotcher driving away from him there. And my goodness, some wild action up here. And I'll tell you, a great effort by Eggert, man. I mean, Stephen Case, obviously the class of this field, last season's champion. I think he podiumed 10 or 11 out of 12 races and finished the season by winning. I gotta say, he won 8 or 9 in a row. And there's Grunsky again, getting some more. Have some, please, sir. May I have another? And another, and that's Grunsky just trying to make his way back to the pits to serve his penalty, and maybe he can find some body parts while he's in there on that stop and hold. So things going horribly wrong for Grunsky. As that angry bird, you can't even tell if he's angry because his face is missing now.
Yeah, absolutely. As we did see him spin around and just at the wrong spot coming out of turn 8 there, and nowhere for the cars to go as he's in the center of the track. And so he's coming down. Guyton has got a meatball as well. I think he was one of the cars that made contact. You can see the 64 car coming in there, along with the 14 car of Christopher Wang also got some damage on his car as well. So these cars will be getting their fast repairs. And then Grunsky will, because he has to take the service, will probably get a little bit of extra penalty time added. And you can see there's Wang just climbing over the left side tires, and then the backup probably not helpful by by Guyton there, kind of backed up into the way of another car, which continued on. So yeah, just a real struggle there for a couple of drivers for through that set of corners.
Yeah, and where was the yellow there, Charles? I mean, I didn't see a lot of people slowing down to avoid that situation. iRacing not always perfect about warning you about cars stopped or slowed in front of you, and that may have caught out a couple drivers there. And here is the onboard, and ooh, yeah. My goodness, yeah, not really anywhere to go there. And another car kind of going through there hot and getting a piece of the action there as well. So, Charles, we talked about tire wear, and at various races last season, the witching hour for tires seemed to really kick in with about 5 to 10 minutes remaining. We're past that 10-minute mark. I think Barcelona is worse on tires than almost any track on the schedule. So we may be seeing these tires run out from under these guys right now. It could be causing some of these problems.
Very, very possible. Maybe not as severe as what we would normally see, because we do have a pretty decent track temp that's not up in the 120s. That we've got a pretty nice track to race on. So as you see, 86 Fahrenheit, still pretty good conditions there. So not overly hot. So maybe that's helping the tires out. But yeah, you're right. It's just one of these tracks, because of the high G load, the fast corners, just really puts a strain on the tires, and it's starting to looks like it may be starting to take effect, at least in the back part of the field. We'll kind of keep our eye on the mid pack and see if we start picking some of those cars up with incidents, as we still have some battles there in the mid pack. As we see the 480 car, that's the 480 car of Da Silva around. He was in a battle with, I believe, Lebivi and Lopez, and now he's got to back it up and get it repointed the right direction. As we're on now here with the 69 car, you can just see the curb again is doing what those curbs are going to do. You can't do any rail grides on those, and it's going to end up catching you out. And so Da Silva will have to kind of recoup and see if he can make up some ground. He's got a couple of cars in front that are within reach, so we'll see what he can do with it.
And Leslie getting work done there, as you see that train for P3. That is green from Leslie from Corwin, and that was Leslie just now getting past Corwin, but Corwin not lying down for it. Corwin going to have the inside entry to this corner, and Corwin gets that one. Doesn't rather. Sorry, they were side by side. Leslie came out ahead. So that battle for P3 heating up down the stretch here, about 6 minutes remaining. And that's green from Leslie from Corwin, and all three of those cars separated by just under 2 seconds. And Leslie doing a fantastic job here. He ran a couple of races at the end of the season in the F3, but this will be his first season again as last season's F4 champ, running with the F3 drivers, and definitely showing that he belongs here with the big dogs. A great drive by Leslie.
Yeah, absolutely, having a great run, running up in the top 5 in his first race of the season in these F3 cars. Obviously, we talked about the differences. Obviously, you're more familiar with it, doing both leagues, but more horsepower, more downforce in these F3s. You have damage on, but you do have a fast repair. But obviously, if you have to use that, you're having a bad day. So as we see Corwin here behind Josh Leslie, looking to see if he can make that move back around. Not quite able to do it just yet. Leslie doing a good job. I did notice that when he went down into turn 5, he kind of locked the fronts up a bit, and it washed him across the track. Really kept Corwin from making that move stick on the outside. So we'll see what happens if Corwin decides he might want to take a look at that inside on turn 5.
And the leaders here hitting some lap traffic. And oh, by the way, while Green, Leslie, and Corwin have been fighting, that is exactly what Poborsche wanted to see. Poborsche has now reeled in Corwin to about a 7/10 gap with 4 minutes remaining. So Poborsche trying to continue his meteoric rise through the field here. He's up 8 right now, sitting in P6 with an opportunity to maybe get 2 more before this one's over. Great drive by him.
Yeah, absolutely, having a great run up through the field. Obviously, lost a lot of positions, so he's back up probably where he qualified, at least in that zip code now. So maybe get some good points out of this second race and feel pretty good about his day, and maybe just lament the potential of having a really good points day in both races. But he is working that gap, and he is closing it down. It's down to about a half second and getting closer.
And a brave move there as Lopez made a run at Lebivi there. And, big hit there, body panels flying, and that is Snyder and Van Wagner. And Van Wagner not having a great week in the open wheelers. If you watched Summit Point last night, you saw that kind of go in a way that Van Wagner didn't want to have happen. And little help there from Justin Snyder and maybe a little bit of net code. But I'll tell you, you know, net code exists. We all know it. You got to drive like you know that it exists. And when you drive close like that, you're taking a risk. And that's the result when things go wrong.
Yep, that is the random number that gets pulled every so often as Snyder is in to have some bricks replaced in his car. As working his way through the chicane, you see a little more contact between himself and Van Wagner. Van Wagner got his pit stop done and back out on the track. And see another replay here, and just a little bit of netcode contact, and that was enough to break the rears loose of Wagner's car, of Snyder's car.
Yeah, and take a look at Poborji and Corwin. Poborji has got that gap down to about 3/10, and with 2 minutes left, and we're well familiar with Danush. Danush not shy there as you see him fighting for grip coming into that final chicane section, getting ready to get back on the pit straight. But Poborji could potentially have a tow here, although he lost a little bit of headway there. Yeah, and that gap growing now. I'll tell you, Poborji had Corwin right where he wanted him and had a little slight bobble there, and is now going to have to wait for the next time around. The gap has increased to 0.8, but Poborji has the pace. His fast lap right now looks like he's got about a half a second on Corwin, and after how things went for Poborji in that first heat race, I know that he would love to get that top 5 done and make that +8 into a +9. But so far, Corwin doing a good job maintaining that gap. You see Poborji cranking down on that a little bit right here. And here's De Silva on Cotcher. That's Cotcher on the outside, I believe. Yeah, and De Silva stuffing it down the inside there at the end of the pit straight. We've seen a lot of passing there, and these drivers doing a pretty good job avoiding crashing there. They're saving the crashing for the infield, I think. And speaking of crashing, boy, oh boy, we've seen that car facing the wrong way a couple times. That is Guyton, and Guyton occupying the cell right now. He's running in P20, 7 positions lost from his qualifying. So he is one of the drivers who has really had some struggles here at Barcelona. And folks, this track is not easy. You've got to flirt with those high curbs to get good lap times around here. And it is a challenge. And this has got to be, I believe that Case has just taken the white flag. So it's Case from Eggert, from Green, from Leslie, from Corwin. And Case enjoying a 1 second gap behind to Eggert, has done a great job keeping Eggert at arm's length here. So your podium there looks pretty solid if they can just get it around one more time.
Yeah, I think so. I think Eggert had it down to about 6 or 7 tenths, but I think he started pushing a little too hard. I saw him sideways a little bit coming out of 1, and that really slowed his move up quite a bit. And the gap has now opened back up. But I think it's going to be insurmountable unless Case makes a mistake, which I don't really expect. As we're watching here, Lubivy and Duval, is that right? Yep, the one at it here I'm sorry, Lopez and Lubivy going at it here for P8 and P9, and looks like Lopez has got the better of him for the time being, but still quite a bit of lap to go, and that's the closest one on track. The closest battle we still have Poborji behind Corwin trying to close that gap down as well, but up front, smooth sailing for the top 3. With a nice gap between Case, Eggert, and Green as they're coming around through the chicane for one last time.
Yeah, and Lubivy and Lopez dicing there. They've just changed positions for the second time in this lap, and we'll pop back to that in a second, but we had to show you Stephen Case taking the checker easily here, and he's going to start the season the way he finished it, as the champ and the man to beat. And here comes Jason Green. He'll come across in P3, and here are Lebivi and Lopez side by side through that final chicane, still fighting, and it looks like Lebivi is going to have the edge here. It's possible to get a little bit of a draft here. It does not look like, I'm sorry, that is Lopez that is going to have the advantage there over Lebivi. Those guys had a hell of a fight the last couple of laps, so great, respectful dicing by them. The checker is out. That is Duvall coming across now. Then we'll see De Silva and Cotcher coming down the pit straight. Cotcher in that Porsche-inspired 422 liveried car there. And Cotcher doing a good job today, moving up 6 positions. Trantham behind him has moved up 7, but of course Poborgi at +8 is your hard charger. So as our field continues to filter across the start finish here, we will have your results for you in a second. But Charles, a wild one at Barcelona, and you said it at the outset, those yellow curbs would be race wreckers, and that certainly proved to be true. Oh my goodness, and look at that replay of Lopez versus Lebivi, and those two cars, those two drivers back and forth. They changed positions twice on the last lap, so they were fighting for that P8 like it was P1. Great stuff here for SRG F3 opener.
Yeah, absolutely. And you still see them fighting even through the chicane, jumping the curbs, and great job of just avoiding each other, giving each other racing room. And looks like that Lopez is going to get that position. It was close. I think it was 800ths of a second between these two cars as they crossed the start finish line. So great run by those guys. Lebivi a little bit down, Lopez a little bit up, but overall really good racing. And we had some tight finishes, but Stephen Case once again class of the field. Although, as we say every week, it seems like there's a couple of cars that get a little bit closer to him every week. This time it was Chris Eggert, kept it really close until the very end. The gap ended up being about 1.7. So great run by everybody involved, and it's a great start to the season.
Yeah, Eggert did a good job. He was sniffing around behind Case for probably the first 3/4 of that one. May have run out of tires down the stretch and allowed Case to drive away a little bit further. But Case, again, your F3 champion from the inaugural season, last season, showing his stuff here, showing why he is the man to beat, and we'll start this season with a win. And we'll have those final results for you here momentarily. Or right now as one kind of momentarily, but there they are. It is Stephen Case winning this one by almost 2 seconds, followed by Chris Eggert and Jason Green to round out your podium. Then Joshua Leslie opening his first full season in F3, a great showing by him to finish in P4. Then it's Joshua Corwin. Danush Poborgi finishes in P6 after gaining 8 positions during this one. Lloyd Conway, Adrian Lopez, Daniel Lebivi, and Adam Duvall will round out your top 10. Then it's Tyrone De Silva in 11, Jason Cotcher, Jason Trantham, Alex Velasco, and Dylan in P15. Trantham moved up 7, Cotcher moved up 6, and Dylan moved up 4. So some good work being done out there. They're obviously taking advantage of some incidents, but also some legit passes in there as well, especially by Poborgi. Jose Navas will finish in P16. Then it's Chris Wang up 4 in P17. Aaron Van Wagner will be come across the line in 18. Then it's Justin Schneider, Jacob Guyton, Tyler Hagan, and Igor Grensky to round out your field, with the latter 2 cars off the lead lap. But pretty good race out here, Charles. And these drivers, I think, kind of getting used to the new format. I think the new format, as I guessed it might, benefited a couple of the drivers and hurt a couple of the drivers. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with this and the strategic choices that they make as this season unfolds.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I like the change to the format. It gives, like I said, it gives a chance for drivers who may have struggled a little bit in the heat race, can actually come back like Paborgi did. He lost 9 positions, I believe, in the heat race, but picked up 8 from his starting position for the feature. So got back up to where he qualified originally. So did a good job and got some good points out of the night. So those are obviously growing pains when you do changes like this. But I will say that the heat race was a bit dramatic, but we only had 2 cars that finished off the lead lap in the second race. So obviously you already see the progression the drivers have made just over the course of one night of being able to race a little cleaner and keep the cars under control a little better.
Yeah, and that static shot right there just showing the tabletop of that yellow anti-cut curb, and you can imagine one of these F3 cars sitting there balanced perfectly on it. But we've got a couple drivers here out in the interview waiting area wanting to come in and talk to us, so we'll go ahead and get those underway, and I'm just gonna be completely uncreative and go in alphabetical order. We are talking to Adrian Lopez, who managed a top 10 finish, moved up 4 positions from his starting position to finish in P8. So Adrian, brand new season underway, and really week 1 kind of opened with a very challenging track here at Barcelona. So how did this race unfold from your seat?
Yeah, it was kind of surprising. This was a tricky one with this car. It doesn't really like some of the turns, especially at this temperature. The tires were just shot pretty quickly on this track, and and there was at one point too where I kind of caught up with the traffic ahead, and then we were just a train for the longest time. The straights aren't long enough, so you can't utilize the draft all that much. You have to be super close with them to begin with to get it, and that was my struggle with Daniel trying to get past him. What was that? 0.4 seconds away, and that's just too far back to pass on the straights. So tricky. Not my favorite track and card combination, but it was kind of fun to see everybody else struggle with it because it's just an awkward one.
Yeah, and speaking of Daniel Labivi, what a fight you guys had down the stretch for P8. Talk to us a little bit about that. You put on a side-by-side show in some parts of the track that drivers don't usually roll the dice and go side-by-side. So talk to us a little bit about your fight with Labivi.
Yeah, well, first thing is I like to practice on tracks offline just to see what it's like, because you never know when you're gonna have to be in that position. A lot of people don't do that, so they kind of get awkward and too afraid to do a weird line that they wouldn't normally do. I'm just all over the place. But yeah, I was trying to, I was chasing him down for the longest time. At one point, I felt like my tires were getting too hot because I was right behind him for way too long. So I started backing off a little bit, get some air, off the draft, and kind of waited out a little bit more, and then started to gain a bit more pace. And I saw him make a slight mistake off of the last turn right before we started the last lap, and I smelled blood in the water at that point. And just went for it on the straight. With that one, I was able to finally get past from there, but I knew it was going to be a struggle because even through turn 1, turn 2, I felt the back end give out where it normally wouldn't. So I knew, okay, this is going to be a bit of a struggle. I'm going to have to do some creative lines here. And then once we got to the back straight, right before the hairpin, I saw him dive to the inside where I didn't think he'd have an opportunity there, but he did it. So I said, oh, okay, the cojones on this guy. Let's do this then. let's do this. Held my line, kept looking to the left to see how close he was. He was super respectful with the space. And once we were through the hairpin and I noticed we were still kind of side by side, he didn't get enough momentum to pass, I figured we're right here at the last lap. I'm not giving up. So as long as we don't crash, let's do this. And I know with Daniel, between him and I, we usually don't crash. So on that right-hander, right after the hairpin, I just said, no, I'm staying right here. I'm not letting go. Let's go through the end just like this. Let's see what happens.
Well, I'll tell you, that was awesome. And that was one of the kind of better parts of the race, frankly, the fight between the two of you. So great job. Congratulations on a fantastic drive. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to tonight?
Yeah, shout out to Jason. He kind of switched it up a little bit with this new setup. I'm a fan of it. I kind of like the little bit more high stakes format that this creates. Kind of mixes it up a bit more. So I dig it. Shout out to him for trying something new and different to kick the season off, keep it fresh. Shout out to Daniel for being another set of respectful races I have on the list with him. And yeah, and my lovely lady at home taking care of the baby so I can do my shenanigans over here.
Excellent. All right, Adrian, thanks so much for stopping by and chatting with us, and congratulations again on a fantastic drive, especially down the stretch.
Yep, thank you guys.
All right, that was Adrian Lopez finishing in P8, and after talking to Adrian, we might as well have a word with his battle buddy for that P8 position, Daniel Abivi. And Daniel, that was pretty epic down the stretch. You guys got some good screen time in that fight for P8. Really great driving by both of you. So why don't you talk us through that fight that you had with Lopez for P8?
I mean, it was a mix of trying not to make a mistake, making a mistake, and then in the end trying to hold him back, and I couldn't do it. I know he's going to give me the room. I'll give him the room. So we were able to stay side by side all the way to the finish. And it was definitely a blast. Good first race of the season.
Well, yeah, that was absolutely epic and really great, respectful and trustful driving by both of you. And he made similar comments about you and his ability to trust you in that situation, and decided it was worth it to roll the dice and really put on a great show down the stretch for us. So very well done. Congratulations. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you'd like to thank or give a shout out to tonight?
I mean, Adrian for probably the closest battle I've had in this whole entire year. So I'll give that one out to him.
All right. Very good. Well, congratulations again. And we look forward, Daniel, to seeing you on track next week.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers. And Charles, it looks like we have got Lloyd Conway out here. So we'll let you check in with him about how his race went tonight.
Yeah, let's bring Lloyd in here. Lloyd, P7 in the feature race tonight. So a good result. So just talk us through your race and how you thought the conditions were out there tonight.
Yeah, very interesting race. Very fun race, both on the sprint and the feature. But man, exhausting. But, I feel like I was given a good fight. I tried to put up a good fight halfway through the race. I was exhausted. And my tires were also exhausted, but can't complain. I did fine. I feel like my technical pace was better than what my actual race pace was. But as I say, halfway through the race, I was just kind of tired, and the focus just wasn't really there. But yeah, P7's P7, could have been much worse. Kept it on the track, so that's a win in my book. Had fun.
Yeah, there you go. So what do you think about the change to the format with the heat and the feature? It seems like, if you're a little bit tired of that second race, then maybe the extra 15 minutes of hard driving is going to be something that a few of the drivers are going to have to kind of build up to in order to compete a little harder here in this league.
I think in theory, the new layout is much better. It's really enjoyable. I can see it being really great. I think this track for me as well, I'm not too familiar with, so maybe that's why I'm tired. And if there's like maybe a 5-minute break between the heat and then the actual race, that would be great. But yeah, I'm all for this kind of new format. I feel like it gives us an extra opportunity to have a good race if we have a bad race in the first race. So yeah.
Yeah.
All in all, even though I'm exhausted, I'm pretty happy with this new format.
So next week, a brand new track to iRacing, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. or as we like to say, the Mexico Grand Prix. So obviously, if you're a fan of racing and you're familiar with the track. Have you had a chance to go ahead and purchase it and maybe run some test laps, or you're going to wait and do that this week?
Yeah, no, not yet. I've started to become a bit of a last minute guy with these races. At least that's how it was for this week. So if I have time, I'll probably run a few laps towards the end of this week. I haven't even downloaded it yet or looked at anything. Just kind of going in with closed eyes right now. I've got no idea what to expect.
Well, congratulations again on a good result. First top 10 of the season. And we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs and let you go ahead and have a good afternoon or evening, I should say.
I'll give a thanks to Jason, and I also want to give a shout out to everyone who was at the endurance race in-house last weekend. I was there. It was my first one with SRG in-house. It was very fun to meet all the guys. So cheers to SRG and thank you for that.
All right, Lloyd, congratulations. We'll see you next week.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, and that was your 7th place finisher, Lloyd Conway. And looks like there is one other person kind of slumming around out there. And let me see who it is. Looks like Jason Cotcher. Jason, how's it going? And what did you think of the new race format?
Yeah, guys, happy Wednesday. Thanks for having me. I'm interested to work with it. It's pros and cons, of course. It looks like it created some action for the viewers at home, and 2 sets of standing start, 2 sets of cold tires, and 2 sets of 30 cars in close proximity. Looks like we'll bring the action, and the guys are talking about a much higher intensity with the 1 hour of qualifying. It's fixed setup, so you have to run fuel out of the car first and then change tires and go for it later. So there's a lot of strategy in that kind of forced that wouldn't be if you had open setups and then into the sprint and then into the feature continuous. Seems like it's been pretty optimistic. Like I said, pros and cons, but generally speaking, guys seem like they've enjoyed it. What did you guys think? I'm interested to hear that. I'll flip the interview around. JR, your thoughts on the new format?
I thought it was interesting, and I agree with you that one thing that it adds, I mean, it's almost like a restart, right? So it's a longer race with a restart, and it gives folks an opportunity to, make up for early problems. Potentially the heat race gives people an opportunity to pounce on the driver in front of them and maybe squeak a couple extra positions that they weren't able to gain in qualifying. So it definitely adds something to think about, something to talk about, and keeps it fresh here. So we're definitely in favor.
Cool. Very good. Yeah, fun to do something I'd noticed nobody else was doing on slow motion broadcasting, trying to just change it up a little bit, be different, have a go. And I said to the guys, if it didn't work, we don't have to go with it. But so far, so positive. So I think we're going to give it at least another couple of races, get a decent sample size, but optimistic.
And I hate to do this to you, Jason, but I'm just going to throw out one phrase and just kind of let it drift out across the world and into the ether: inverted grid. And I'll leave it at that. But this is Jason Cotcher, the owner and admin of Sim Racers Group. And thanks so much for stopping by and chatting with us. And we are really, really enthusiastic about being part of the growth of Sim Racers Group and seeing these drivers get better and better. And we're really looking forward to covering this season for you.
Awesome, guys. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Slow Motion Broadcasting, iRacing, admins of SRG, and the community as a whole. Love it, guys. Thanks so much.
All right. Excellent. Take care, man. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.
All right. And that was Jason Cotcher. That is going to conclude our interviews for tonight. And folks, we are not just about these fantastic open wheelers here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We have got some great racing action most nights of the week. So I want you to go ahead and subscribe to SMB and hit that notification icon so that you don't miss any of the action. And coming up, as you see on your screen on Saturday, Formula V Weekend Warriors will attack the course down under Phillip Island. And then on Saturday, Formula Ford and Spec Racer Ford doubleheader weekend warriors will be at the Oulton Park circuit in the UK. We've got the American Muscle Series on Tuesday. Also, next Tuesday, we're back with SRG Formula 4 racing at Monza. And a little bird told me that there could be some precipitation involved in that one, so you don't want to miss that one. Wednesday night, we're going to have the Extreme Motorsports Racing Ferrari Road and Oval Challenge. And if you haven't heard about that, it is a spec series battle of Fefes on both road courses and on ovals, and that was going to open up at Sebring International next Wednesday. And next Wednesday also, of course, you'll want to tune in back here for more SRG F3, where we're going to be jumping into that brand new beautiful Mexican Grand Prix circuit. And there's the Formula Ford race for next weekend indicated there as well. So, what a fantastic race. And again, we are super stoked to be here with Sim Racers Group and broadcasting these races for you. But that is going to do it for today. I am JR Gregory on behalf of myself, my partner, Charles Boshell, our producer, Joshua Wilkie, and everyone here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your night and hang on, baby. The weekend is coming.